DCS uses another concept of almost all command control systems, and that is the use of a programming track. If you have more than one Proto-Sound 2 locomotive on the track when you try to add a new one, the remote may have trouble finding the new engine. Things work much better if you have a programming track. Now, this is nothing more than a section of track that can be electrically isolated so that the DCS system sees only the new engine and not the others. It can be a separate piece of track where you put the engine to add it to the system before you run it, but then you've got to handle the engine twice. Once when you put it on the programming track, and again when you put it on the track on the layout. With a big, expensive articulated steamer, you may not want to do that. To avoid handling a locomotive any more than you have to when you add it to the DCS system, you can make a programming track that's part of your layout. In fact, it could be right on the main line if you want it to be. Here's Jim Barrett, O-Gauge Railroading's backshop foreman, to show you how to make a programming track.
Thanks, Rich. What I'm going to show you here is how to make a programming track right in the middle of your main line. All you have to do is isolate a piece of the center rail in the main line and feed it a little bit differently than what you're used to. We're going to create a simulation here using 3 pieces of MTH track. And what we're going to do in this case is bend back the center rail contacts so that the center piece of track right here is electrically isolated from the rest of the layout. Using MTH's terminal block, we're feeding the terminal block from the transformer here, and then these two, this one and this one, are coming from the terminal block. This isolated track in the middle is coming from a switch. For this purpose, we're using a good Gardner Bender double pole, double throw switch. I've used this switch in a number of situations, and it does a good job of getting the digital signal and the power to the track. You'll need to do a little pre-wiring to this switch. Electrically make a jumper from the center contact to the end contact on this double pole switch, and do it on both sides the way you see it here. Once this is done, connect the wires from the terminal block to the opposite end of the switch from the jumpers, like this. From the other end of the toggle switch, where the jumpers are soldered, connect the wires all the way down to the isolated part of the main line that you're going to use for a programming track. In our demonstration, it'll be this center piece of track right here. In other words, the programming track is jumpered around the switch. It doesn't go through it. To demonstrate how well this works, we'll apply some power to the center contacts on this switch, and all 3 of the lock-ons are lit because we're feeding around the switch to the center piece and through the switch to the terminal block for the rest of the layout. Now this is your normal operating mode. You may want to label the switch run when it's in this position. When you're ready to program an engine, all you need to do is flip the toggle switch the other way and look what happens. Only the lock-on for your programming track is lit up. All the rest of the layout is disconnected, so you don't have to take all the other engines off the track. So we might want to label this side of the switch program. So in this position it's program, in this position it's run. Make a long enough isolated section that your programming track will take care of the largest engine you could possibly put on it. And remember that that programming track is where you'll put the engine the first time you put it on your layout so that you can recognize it in the DCS system. If you use Gargrave's track or Atlas or some other kind of track like that, you can create a programming isolated center rail by making a cut with a Dremel tool all the way through the track so that you have a gap in the center rail. And then make that section long enough to accommodate the largest engine you're going to use. If you're using multiple channels on your TIU, turn the track power off to all the other channels except the one that you're using for the programming track. This could be as simple as just winding the handle down on a Z4000 or a ZW, or if you have a Lionel Powerhouse, just simply turn it off. The programming track won't work properly unless you do this. And that's all there is to making a programming track anywhere on your layout that you'd like to have it.